Hello, my name is Tom Gayler and I'm here to present you this article, Exploring the Design Space for Human-Food Technology Interaction, an approach from the lens of eating experiences. It was published in January in the Tokai Journal and we're very happy to be able to share it with you here at CHI. This paper is presented on behalf of myself and my co-authors Corina and Vaiva Kalnikaitė. Starting with the motivations for this research, food is embedded in everyday practices and can be a rich resource for interaction design. This article focuses on eating experiences to uncover how bodily, sensory, and socio-cultural aspects of eating can be used to design better user experiences. It brings together exploration of design around food and design with food from both literature and practice to highlight the body and experiential perspectives of food and eating. This work results in a conceptual framework for designing for user experience, leveraging eating experience. Implications for HFI design suggesting the value of multisensory flavour experiences, external and internal sensory stimulation and deprivation, aspects of eating for communicating meaning, and 6 charts as novel generative design tools for HFI experiences focused on sensory, emotional, communicative, performative and temporal experiences. The research questions that guided this work were: how have eating experiences been previously designed for? How do professional chefs design for eating experiences? What is the space of designing for UX in HFI-based eating experiences? And how can we support the exploration of this design space? This research combined 2 approaches to understanding food and eating experience. It recognised the need to draw on a wealth of practical knowledge in this domain, and thus combined interviews with chefs with a systematic review of the research to date. Next, I will report on the findings from the systematic literature review of 109 papers and the interviews with 18 professional chefs who were all involved in creating food and eating experiences across a range of contexts, from restaurants to art installations. Further details of the methodologies and sampling can be found in the full paper. For each paper included in the review, we coded for 3 things. 1, the bodily experience that was described. 2, the purpose or role of food in the experience or interaction, and 3, the technology that was used to facilitate the experience. This schema was iteratively developed between the authors. Starting with bodily experiences of eating. Within the review, this covered external unimodal explorations, and these were the majority of the work in this space, to external multisensory experiences involving the integration of 2 or more senses. A smaller but significant group of papers reported on internal senses such as digestion and metabolization. The purposes of human food interaction range from the more simple sensory focused to emotional, cognitive and social. Some purposes were better defined within the application domains such as healthy eating or dining. The technologies within the review covered those supporting sensory experience, those focused on healthy eating, those aimed at improving dining experiences, and those which were assistive dining tools. 3 main themes emerged from the interviews with chefs. The first details the breadth of sensory experience, both external and internal, that influences the design process of chefs. The second covers the performative aspects of eating experiences and how these are designed for by chefs across time. The third theme reports the ways in which personal experiences are woven into eating experiences, in particular the influence of memory. Our findings suggested the value of the body in the rich, sensory, emotional and meaningful experiences associated with eating. We suggest that food and eating are useful ways to approach 2 underexplored bodily spaces for user experience, the mouth and the gut. The mouth is both a central sensory centre in eating experiences, but also an active tool in engaging and developing experience over time. We indicate scope for further work on a broad range of sensory experiences and exploration of time within this context. Beyond the mouth and deeper within the body, the gut is an almost forgotten part of food and eating experience. At a longer timescale, we propose that by thinking about experience in this space, better approaches to healthy eating that extend beyond instantaneous taste and flavour to longer-term experience of how that food affects experiences such as satiety, fullness and warmth. Alongside the conceptual framework, we also present 5 implications for design. First is the move from taste stimulation to multisensory experiences, pushing designers to consider multisensory richness and complexity when creating user experience. Secondly, A move from the perspective of external stimulation, for example, a focus on sight, smell and sound, to a perspective of external and internal, adding digestion and metabolization to considerations, promoting the mouth and gut as sites for design. Thirdly, aligning with the first implication is a movement towards rich, personalised flavour emotion and flavour emotional memory mappings, going beyond the more universal but unimodal taste emotion mappings. The fourth implication highlights the potential for meaning in eating experiences through conscious design with the social and cultural aspects, again opening up the space for personalised experiences. The final implication provokes designers to think about the trajectory of eating experiences and the role of different senses in shaping experience over time. In particular, it points towards designing coherent and progressive experiences that build and climax. Finally, we present the charts as design tools. These were inspired by Ashby diagrams and previous work on sensory and aesthetic materials for design. And these charts identify how food and eating experience can be used to support different types of user experience by design. Here are the senses leverage chart, and this identifies how internal and external sensory experiences vary in terms of their complexity, and it includes insights from both of the studies, the literature review and the interviews. This chart explores the various techniques and technologies for stimulating or depriving those senses, and it uses the same scales as the previous chart, but is much more heavily influenced by insights from the literature. In contrast, this chart on emotional experience draws much more heavily on the findings of interviews, and highlights the gap for low arousal, low valence type experiences with food and eating, whilst highlighting the dual interpretations of some challenging sensory experiences, such as bitter taste or spiciness. This chart on communicative experience arranges examples by the information they communicate, explicit to implicit, and the sociality of that information from personal to communal. This highlights the bias in existing work towards personally meaningful ways of communicating with food in place of more wide audience interactions. This fifth chart looks at performative experience in terms of the duration and audience, with unpleasant smelling or tasting experiences offering short duration experiences for big groups, and more balanced sensory experiences longer but more small scale performances. This final chart covers temporal experience, relating to the before and after the moment of eating, and lasting from fleeting to enduring experiences. Smell and taste dominate the short-term experiences, with visual and internal sensations lasting longer. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to present to you. You can find the charts as a downloadable resource on the ULR listed, and more details on the method, approach and findings can be found in the full paper.